I am a completely different person than I was when this year began. And it is all because I misinterpreted some angel signs. So today I'm going to start this video by telling you my story so I can use it kind of as an example of why and what to do, not only when you don't understand what your angel signs are, but when you are completely misinterpreting what they actually mean. But stick around because there is so much more than meets the eye when it comes to this subject. And I'm going to talk about why it's not only okay, but actually good to follow your angel signs even when you've got them completely wrong. So this story that I'm about to tell you is a recent experience of mine, a pretty profound experience of mine. And I'm not actually through with it. I mean, I feel amazing as it is, and I have come so far, but I just know, I could just feel that there's still more for me to learn and experience. But I have learned and grown enough that I've been feeling very inspired to talk about this subject and, what happens or what can potentially happen when you follow signs that you are completely misinterpreting, just completely getting wrong. So earlier this year, a person came into my life, and this person and the experience I have just completely flipped, everything I thought I knew and understood just completely upside down entirely. My life has so completely changed, and so have I, deep down to the core of who I believe myself to be, even how I see myself now, is completely different than it was before all of this began. So it all began as this very joyful new beginning. Things were exciting, and I decided to pray about it. So I prayed for guidance and understanding, and I specifically asked that if I was going in the right direction, if I was on the right path with this situation, to show me the number 4 as a sign. And I had no particular reason for choosing the number 4. It's just as I was praying and thinking about this, number 4 just popped into my head. Prior to this prayer that I said, I had been seeing an increase in the number 1 and sequences of the number 1, 11, 111, and 1111, and so on. There's ones everywhere, lots and lots of ones. And I already know that ones, in addition to some personal meanings I have from you, primarily mean that your vibrations are going up, and it's like you're about to walk through a doorway into spirit. 11 is like the doorway, it's going to open, you're walking through from this place of logic and rational reasoning through into this spiritual place, like a spiritual awakening, enlightenment. So I already knew about that, and I could feel that was consistent, which is actually what made me decide to pray for clarification in the first place, and why I just chose another number as the sign for that. And as soon as I finished praying, I opened my eyes, there it is on the clock, the number 4 it was that fast. As soon as I finished praying, and I began seeing 4 in sequences of 4, everywhere I went. You know how angel numbers work, right? But what was interesting was that instead of simply seeing just the number 4, I was more often seeing combinations of 1 and 4. And that's clearly connecting the sign that I had asked for with what I was already feeling about this kind of spiritual awakening coming on. So every time I walked into the room, the clock was at 14 or 41 after the hour, and I kept thinking, how is this possible? Of course I knew how it was possible, but you still can't help but think, how is this possible? How is this happening? Because especially in addition, I would just be sitting and my computer would be on sleep mode, and you'd bump it and it would wake up at the exact time, 1:14, 1:44, 4:11 or 4:14 or 4:44 or 11:14, 11:44. Many times throughout the day, this kept happening. My phone would do the same thing as I was working on my computer or watching TV. It would just turn on, I'd look at it, and these numbers again would just be randomly, that is when it happened. To the point where you're like, this is just, can I ever see a different number besides combinations of 1s and 4s? Even the temperature outside was at 44 every single day, which was also weird because just a couple of years ago I was seeing the number 46 and the temperature kept being at 46 on that year. But this year I'm seeing 44. And I am not exaggerating how much I saw this in the slightest bit. Like, of all the angel numbers that I have experienced over the last 12 years, I have never experienced this much of an influx of a specific number. And I felt like it was even extra special because it was not just the number I had asked for, but it was combined with that number that was giving me so many feelings before. They were put together and it just felt very special. So that all sounds super straightforward, right? I got my sign, clear as day, and there's no mistaking it. I was definitely seeing these numbers. I was definitely feeling how strongly connected it was to my situation. So you'd think that's the end of the story, right? Yay, angel signs. They told you exactly what you need to know and everything worked out. But, you'd be very wrong, because when it comes to this story, that was only just the very beginning. Because the more I saw these numbers, the signs and the confirmations that I had not just asked the angels for, I prayed directly to source, to God, for these numbers. And the more they began coming, which was a lot, the more I kept getting these red flags, this feeling and just red flags in the physical world about this person and the situation I was in. I actually felt like I was in some sort of paradox because, was this a test of faith? What the heck was going on? The more the red flags became abundant and obvious and apparent in my life, the more I started seeing these numbers, the more frequently and often I would see them. And vice versa, when the numbers started increasing in frequency, so did these red flags. They became bigger and bigger and more obvious. It was as if they were somehow creating each other. I honestly did not even know what to do at this point. I mean, seriously, it could not be more obvious that the situation that I was in was not good. This person I was dealing with was bad. He was a bad person, and all the fear in my ego was screaming at me that I should run away as fast as possible. But yet at the same time, this would happen and I'd see these signs that I had prayed for, that I had asked for. So of course, I also did several angel oracle and tarot card readings to help me and to try to get more information and to guide me even more. And all of the signs, including the angel cards, which never let me down, supported the signs that I was seeing, not the red flags, supporting the signs. And telling me that this situation and listening to my heart was going to lead to a very positive outcome for everyone involved. So there I was, forced to choose between logic, rationality, and reasoning, and what was right there before me, more than obvious, or follow these signs and just have a complete and absolute faith that somehow these signs were the right way to go. So I chose to listen to the signs, because that's what I do. That's everything I talk about, right? That's what I do. I don't even know if I know how to do anything differently at this point. So I chose to listen to the signs, to follow my heart, and to ignore all of the red flags, throwing caution to the wind as I intentionally disregarded what logic, what rationality, and my good old protective ego were screaming at me. Okay, I know what you're probably thinking now. That this is a happy story where it all works out in the end, right? Following the signs was the right thing to do, and it all worked out, because why else would I be talking about it, right? Well, not at all. That did not even happen in the slightest bit. Every single one of those red flags, everything I saw and I worried about and I feared, all the doubts, all of it was real. And it was all true. By following my heart and the signs that I received from Spirit, I got burned, hurt, betrayed, some of the worst betrayal and loss that I have ever experienced throughout my life. And if you know my story at all, you know that is really saying a lot. But you know what? It was worse than that, because not only had this person whom I expected to do it anyway because of the red flags, not only had this person betrayed me and my trust, But I couldn't help but think at times that, the angels had also betrayed me. I had a few moments of really being lost and crying and wondering how could the angels do this to me, and how could they lead me in the wrong direction when I had so much faith and I believed so deeply in them, and the pain of that kind of betrayal from my angels was intense, so intense. And beyond that, if you remember, I said that when I first asked for these signs, I was asking God. I was praying directly to Source for these signs. So I couldn't help but wonder at God, Spirit, all of it. I felt betrayed by everything, by the most important things in my existence, right? It was bad. As you can imagine, I just felt so hard into the dark night of the soul, so far and so deep, feeling so lost and completely alone, and not even sure that I could turn to my angels that I have just come to rely on to get through my day-to-day experiences, much less something as intense as this. I didn't know if I could turn to them anymore, and I didn't know what to do, not at all what I could possibly do. So I had, from the beginning, when the red flags began appearing, I asked the Archangel Michael to protect me and to keep me safe from any kind of harm. So, of course, I felt kind of secure in that. But as I continued to follow the signs against my best judgment, other archangels also started to appear to me, archangels that I wasn't really that familiar with. And I began having these really deep new connections with them, and understanding these archangels and the role that they can have in our life and how they can help us on like a completely different level than I really ever have before. Yet, as a human being with an ego, I still felt like possibly I had been betrayed by them all. I was afraid. That's what I was afraid of more than anything. Not so much that I believed it. I was just afraid that maybe that could possibly happen. But then, the shadows began to emerge. Or rather, I began to realize that a lot of shadows were emerging. So I, began to understand that the feelings that came up with each of the red flags that occurred, were associated with something in my shadow, a memory or a past event, things that had been long forgotten, that I had long forgotten had ever even happened. And all of the doubts and the intense fears and the concern and the feelings of being betrayed were bringing all of this out. So I began a really deep and intense session of shadow work that went on for months. It was months of pain and these really painful past experiences just continuously coming to mind, and I was having to continually face them and live through them again. It was a lot going on. And as I was hurting so much and feeling so lost, I started looking in new places for information, just like I talk about in that Dark Night of the Soul video. I'll link that up here if you haven't seen it. We get down so far that rock bottom to where we just are basically forced to look in different places, and that's what I did. Because I couldn't actually accept that the angels had betrayed me. Just the thought came to my mind, the feeling did not come to me. So I couldn't really accept it. So that's why I had to search. I had to search what could possibly be happening, what could possibly be going on. And the only way that I could get any kind of relief from all this pain and everything I was going through was to meditate. And my meditation sessions, once I got into them, were nothing short of freaking amazing. I can't even explain to you the things that were coming to me, the answers that were coming to me, the clarification, the understanding of things and concepts that I couldn't quite grasp before were just coming into clarity in these meditation sessions. So it gave me peace from the feelings, but I was also learning a lot that was kind of exciting. through it all, I really gained the understanding and experience of surrender and completely letting go and just being open to allowing whatever the divine wants into your life. Because I felt like I just had no choice but to figure out how to do that. And I did through, the meditation and the clearing of thoughts and all of that stuff. It's not to say that I'm perfect at surrender by any means, or I've got complete control over this ego. Oh no, it still creeps up. But I have come such an extreme long way from where I think it was at the beginning of the month, or to where I remember being at the beginning of the year, and it just blows my mind how much I have learned and how much I feel like I've changed. So my point is that after getting through a few months of all of this shadow work and this pain, all of this learning, healing, growing, and moving forward, despite all of the pain and disappointment I felt, the willingness to surrender and accept what was happening, even though I felt really stupid for doing it at times, I realized that before this person ever came into my life, I was asking for a deeper connection with spirit. I wanted more. I wanted to know and understand and to fully learn how to let go of my self-doubt and just fully accept my connection without that doubt, that voice in the back of my head that was always there no matter what. I wanted to get past that, and I had actually been asking and praying and creating that intention for several months before all of this happened. I wanted an awakening that went beyond anything close to what I had ever experienced. That is what I really wanted. And that's when I understood that all of those signs, the following of my heart, all of it was exactly what I was meant to do. So I asked for a sign asking if I was on the right path. And that is exactly what I got. I thought I was asking about the right path on the surface of what was going on in that moment. When what was actually happening is that this person was a catalyst. This person came into my life to elicit and begin this deep and enduring awakening and healing that I had to go through that I could have never ever imagined possible. I was on the path my heart and soul wanted to be on, but my ego, my human self thought it was something entirely different. Those red flags were as real as anything. They were not wrong, and I ignored them. They were as real as anything, and I ignored them intentionally, but the signs came because they were leading me down the path that would actually take me through the deep and intense process that I needed to go through so that I could have my true heart's desire come to be. Does that make sense? I had to misinterpret the signs so that I could go down the path of dealing with all this betrayal and all of this stuff in my shadow so that I could get through the awakening that I had originally asked for. So the funny thing is, I just want to share with you is since then I've actually prayed again to confirm all this. Am I on the right path? And this time I decided, send me the number 7. And I chose the number 7 on purpose because of all the times I've done angel numbers and noticed angel numbers, the angel number 7 is probably the one I've seen the least. So I was like, yes, let's ask for the number 7 because if it appears, then I know it must be something. And sure enough, once again, look at the clock, there's the number 7. But what was really funny, and I honestly think is probably evidence of, our angels' kind of sense of humor and just helping us connect things as well. But I saw 4s and 7s together. Again, I had to put the numbers together. And the number 1 was also being thrown in there quite often as well. So just for a minute, let's talk about, a few reasons of why you can misinterpret your signs or get your signs wrong. So, we have our egos, and our egos, remember from that ego video, what is the ego video that I did? And I'll link that up here too if you haven't seen it. We create a story about ourselves, a narrative about ourselves over our lifetimes. And our ego helps us just basically remember the moments or the aspects of our lives that support that story that we have about ourselves. And, that influences our angel signs too. It can influence the signs that we notice, and it can influence how we interpret those signs. Do those signs support the story that I have about myself, or do they not? And the ego also, of course, can talk you out of the fact that you even saw a sign at all, or that any of this is even possible. Another thing which goes very much with that is our beliefs. So what you believe, remember talking about the shadow side, what the shadow side is, and the ego, that a lot of these beliefs that we have can be unconscious. But when it comes to manifesting, what you believe is stronger than any desire that you may have. What you believe, whether it's conscious or unconscious, it is one of the strongest energies that we put out there. So the sign you see may actually be about something that you're unaware of when you see it. And therefore, in your search for answers, you tap into your conscious to find answers. And then it ends up being wrong because it's coming because of a belief that you have that is in the unconscious. And also, if your belief is negative, just like with the ego in the story, you may misinterpret the sign based on the beliefs that you have about yourself, or beliefs about what can be possible in this world. Beliefs hugely impact what we see and how we experience our physical lives and what comes to us through spirit. So another one is expectation. Expectation is so massively, incredibly powerful. It's a great tool for manifesting with the law of attraction. But it's something that we usually struggle with. But we generally struggle with it unless it's unintentional, right? Like our expectations, when we're unintentionally expecting something, that's when we manifest it, whether it's good or bad or what we want or not. But when we intentionally try to have expectations for something positive or what we want, that's where we struggle, right? So it might be based on the beliefs that you have, or it might be because of what's in your shadow. It is what you are expecting deep within you. Once again, this deep within you that will manifest and attract you, regardless of what you're on the surface thinking about, right? So it may be based on the beliefs that you have or what's in your shadow, but it's what you are expecting deep within you that you will manifest and attract to yourself, whether you're aware of it or not, whether it's in your conscious mind or not. It's what you're actually expecting in your heart, deep within you, that you're actually attracting to yourself. And, just overall, don't forget your power as a co-creator. You are not just created by the divine. You are part of the divine. You're a piece of the divine. So you are a creator. And your expectations, your beliefs, your thoughts, your focus, all of that will manifest even signs that you just think you're supposed to see. If you ask for a sign and you think that that's what you're supposed to see to support your story, to support your beliefs, any of that, you're going to create it. You are that powerful that you will create it. So this can be signs that you create through your manifestation, like you're actually manifesting the signs yourself, as if, you're sending the sign to yourself through your manifestation. And also, once again, expectation will influence either seeing the sign or what you think the sign may mean. So, for example, if I believe that I am unlovable, but I ask to find love, my expectation that I am unlovable, no matter what I am telling myself, remember, self-talk is ego talk. But my expectations and my beliefs are actually that I will not find it, right? So it may seem that signs that I think I might be interpreting as they're coming, or maybe the angels are sending me signs that yes, love is on the way. Open yourself up to it. We're sending that to you. But my beliefs and expectations are going to stop me from seeing those signs. They stop me from interpreting those signs correctly. Do you understand what I mean? So I, in that situation, will see signs and interpret what I see as telling me that I should give up, because that's what I expect. I'm not lovable. Nobody can actually love me. I must need to go in a different path, right? Whether that's what those signs may actually mean or not, because my beliefs are so strong. So what are some things you can do to make sure that you don't misinterpret your signs? Make sure you're doing your shadow work. When emotions come up, when feelings come up, don't ignore them. Don't run away from them. You want to bring those truths to the surface. You want to make the unconscious conscious so that you're aware of it. A lot of that stuff can't happen if you're actually aware of what's going on. Remember from the last video that what is buried in your shadow continues to influence and affect you unconsciously. That's what the shadow side is. And that goes not only for your behaviors and patterns and conditioning, but also for your beliefs and the energy that you're putting out into the universe. And your energy is more powerful of an attractant than your ideas or your words or your thoughts, or where you're trying to send your focus to. So learn about what is in there as much as you can. Learn about what your past experiences have taught you and how they have influenced you to be the person that you are today, as far as what you believe about yourself, what you expect to happen in your life, and heal it. Learn from it, grow from it, and let it go. Make sure you follow your intuition. That is always going to be the main thing, no matter what is going on. Just listen to your intuition. Make sure it's not the intuition that your ego is telling you that you're having. Listen to your actual heart, what's going on in your heart, and that above all other things. So also live with love, not with fear. Don't be afraid of your signs. Don't be afraid of misinterpreting those signs. Always lead with love and faith and listening to your intuition. Remember, this is going to be the difference between a soul consciousness and your ego consciousness. And be present as much as possible, as many times throughout the day as you possibly can. Practice mindfulness and being in this moment. Let go of the illusions and just be in this moment. That's all that exists is right now. So practice doing that. And of course, all of this helps with surrender. Make the decision to stop trying. Stop caring. Stop needing and wanting, and know that divine will is actually giving you your every wish and desire. Know this is happening. Stop caring so much about what comes. You get out of the way, and what you truly want, whether you can understand or fathom what exactly that is, will come your way. But what if I told you that most of the time, you don't need to worry about really any of that. You don't need to worry about misinterpreting your signs, especially for highly spiritual beings and spiritual warriors, because the whole point of my sharing this story with you and how it played out and doing this video in the first place is not how to make sure this doesn't happen. Not at all, but it's why you should consider listening to these signs anyway. Do you have the courage to follow your signs anyway? And this is where things just get crazy for those of us with important spiritual missions. Those of us that have, more difficult and challenging life's path that help us learn and grow so that we can become the beings that we need to be to accomplish our mission and our purpose. This is yet another thing that we experience. If you are on your path to ascension and awakening, misinterpreting your signs may actually be exactly what you're meant to do. Extreme awakening requires extreme circumstances. And that is what I'm talking about here. I misinterpreted my signs and doubted my angels because I needed to experience that betrayal, to go through, to learn and to heal and to face all of that stuff in my shadows so I could let it go and I could understand what I understand now and what I will more so understand as more time goes by. You all know how strong of a hold the ego can have on us, right? And sometimes it just takes this kind of extreme experience just to shock your ego out of the way and open the door to knowing and seeing and understanding what you would otherwise probably never have any hope of seeing or understanding. It's that extreme circumstances that lead to extreme awakenings. So there are just not really any accidents when it comes to seeing your angel signs. That's case in point. There's no accidents. It all happens for a reason. So what you are meant to see, you're gonna see. What you are meant to think, you will think, and so on. As long as you're open to allowing this into your life, that is just what will happen. Even if you are uncertain, you can ask for clarification and then just go with the flow. Surrender to divine will and allow it to guide you through your faith, through your heart, and through your intuition. And it may be hard and difficult and challenging in the moment, but the blessings and the payoff in the end will be worth it. So trust me, I know it is not easy to ignore what you know in this physical world, the red flags, the warnings, and instead go with some arbitrary, not so concrete sign that you see. We were not taught in this life to listen to our hearts over the evidence that is right before us. So it takes a lot of courage and faith to do this. But overall, even if you know that you do not understand the signs that you're receiving, you know for sure that you are getting them completely wrong and you just have no clue what they actually mean. It's okay to listen to your heart and intuition and that inner wisdom that you have and follow your inner guidance anyway. It may result in the kind of change you could have never, ever otherwise have thought possible. So real quick before we end this video, let's just talk about a few of the signs that you may see when this is happening. Because, we as humans, we like clarification, or it gives us comfort to have a little bit of knowing. So there are some signs that this is actually what's going on. So if you are seeing an increase in angel signs and synchronicities, especially if you are seeing angel numbers 111 and 1111, and any angel numbers that have the number 0, like maybe 101, 202, 303. These particular angel numbers will increase. They have to do with spirituality. They have to do with spiritual awakening and enlightenment and deep spiritual understanding. So they will increase when this is going on. Any numbers that seem to not mean much of anything at all, except that you just keep seeing them all day long, is also an indication. Those are just synchronicities that are telling you that your vibrations are going up. Even if you're going through a dark night of the soul, even if you're feeling depressed or anxious or any so-called, negative experiences that feel negative in the moment, these are all lifting you up, raising your vibrations and bringing you closer to God. So, you will see more synchronicities when this is occurring, even though you feel like you're depressed and you feel negative, right? So these signs will likely continue to encourage you, though, to keep misinterpreting what is occurring. They're going to take you down the path of more misinterpretation, almost as if they are taking you down the wrong path, like what happened to me, right? Once again, it's because this needs to happen. You need to go down the wrong path And, a lot of the times when it's going on, you're just going to be completely in the dark and not knowing what is going on. That's why it takes so much faith and courage to get through this, because you don't know what's going on. It's also why surrender is just so important, because the ego doesn't have to know what is going on. Your ego just doesn't have to know. If you can feel it in your heart, in your soul, your intuition, in that heart area, that this is for your highest good, trust this part of you. Just like we've talked about so many times before in other videos that I've done about talking to and hearing and understanding your angel messages or your angel signs of any kind. Another sign is that the synchronicities and signs that you get feel confusing. So they appear to be supporting one thing, yet you feel something's off. Maybe it's not quite right. Like I said, I saw the signs, but all the red flags said something completely different. And one thought I had was, is this a test of faith? Am I being tested? Something's not quite congruent or right. It's a little bit confusing. Be careful though, that you're not just listening to your ego trying to talk you out of your signs, or your ego trying to tell you that you're not good enough to receive the signs, or pulling you from your purpose, or keeping you from the change and the awakening that you're meant to go through. Just be careful. Is it coming from your head? It's ego. Is it coming from your heart? This area, that's more likely to be heart-centered soul consciousness. So that doesn't necessarily have to happen though. Sometimes you will feel that you are right, absolutely 100% with no doubts at all, because when the time comes that you realize that you did get all those signs wrong, that is when it will be devastating enough to shock you into your dark night of the soul, and to kind of shock your ego out of the way so that you start to see things differently. And that may just need to be what happens. And of course, a clear sign that this is the type of thing that has happening is you go through a dark night of the soul. It elicits it. Dark nights of the soul are often the very beginning phases of an extreme spiritual awakening. Also, of course, your shadow keeps getting triggered. You also will probably likely feel a lack of control in your life. Yet, even though you feel this lack of control, this doubt, you feel more drawn to spirit than ever. Even as I thought, did my angels betray me? Did God betray me? At the same time, I was more drawn to the spiritual side for answers than ever before. Meditation and mindfulness is also maybe one of the only things that bring you peace and even answers to what you're feeling and experiencing, more than any sign brings you answers. That going within, really releasing the ego, is the only way that during this process that you truly feel a sense of peace and calm. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I know this video got a bit long and there was a lot to cover, but I feel, that these topics are important and what you needed to know and be aware of, so you can ensure that you're on the right path, reaching your highest potential and fulfilling your purpose when things just aren't as straightforward as we human beings really like or need them to be. So remember to check out the description down below for links to my blog and books, where you will find more topics like this if you want to learn more. And of course, join us over on Facebook and Instagram so I can interact with you even more. And as always, I am sending a ton of love and blessings to you all. And may the signs that you see lead you to the kind of love, awareness, and awakening that you are so deserving of having.